Good evening and welcome to a special edition of 60 Minutes. I'm Nick McKenzie. Tonight we expose a toxic and dangerous world of hate as we go inside the neo-Nazi movement in this country. Now, many of you might find it difficult to believe the extent of far-right extremism here, the appalling racism and demands for violent uprisings. But the shocking truth is these groups are growing. So much so, spy agency ASIO warns that half of its most critical domestic counter-terror probes now target neo-Nazi and similar groups. For years, Australia's neo-Nazis have used their anonymity as armour. Our infiltration of the largest organisation, the National Socialist Network, ends that protection. And a strong warning, you're going to be outraged and likely offended by what you see and hear. Nothing about the Manningham Club in suburban Melbourne stands out. In fact, it's so unpretentious, it's the perfect location for a top-secret meeting.
We are made of blood and of honour, and we have been put here to set the record straight. We do not kneel and die. We stand and fight and live. Blood and honour. 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 Blood and honour.
The picture's sometimes blurry and the sound's slightly distorted. But make no mistake, this is evil in action.
Is anyone going to copy those?
Australian neo-Nazis in full flight.
Camera, stand up. It is my duty to be a warrior, to be fit, strong, and defend my people. It is my duty to speak the truth, no matter the consequence. I may die, but my blood lives forever. Until my end, this is my oath. Until my end, this is my oath.
One reaction to watching this might be disbelief, but there's no disputing the evidence. And tonight, the neo-Nazis in this room, long protected by anonymity, can expect to face a reckoning, not only from their families, friends and employers, but also from counter-terror police.
We have a different vision of the future, and our vision is the opposite of theirs. And for that, we are called extreme. And there is nothing that our enemies can truly do to stop us.
The average age of this cohort is 25. We're seeing people as young as 16 and 17 in these groups. That concerns us. They're middle class, well educated, they understand the ideology, they look like everyday Australians, and they're not openly showing their true ideology and not openly showing their violent beliefs or their use of violence, which they believe is justified. They won't openly say that. They keep that for their closed groups.
That Mike Burgess, the boss of security agency ASIO, has agreed to his first major television interview is a clear indication about the risk this growing group of extremists pose.
This group, specifically nationalist, racist, violent extremists, are getting our full attention at this point in time.
So,
For decades, the widely held view in most Western nations was that danger came from the outside, not within.
New Zealand has endured its darkest day.
But attacks like New Zealand's Christchurch massacre,
unprecedented act of violence,
and the Capitol riots in the US have blown up this theory. The threat posed to Australia by domestic terrorism was the starting point for this investigation by 60 Minutes, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. But to unmask the members of these far-right groups, we had to make a very risky call. The decision to go undercover and try to infiltrate an extremist cell. The danger of such a job can't be understated, and unsurprisingly, it took months to find someone willing and with the experience to consider it. But perseverance eventually paid off. The man we're about to meet may become our most important source of information. He's agreed to go undercover, and if it's safe, to wear a hidden camera. To protect his identity, we won't be showing his face and we'll be disguising his voice. What's the cover story going to be?
I haven't actually narrowed it right down, but I'm just going to go in there as a cleaner or something like that.
Are you going to brush up on neo-Nazi sort of texts and do your research, or is it best to go in there as a bit ignorant, hoping to learn?
I'm just going to go in there and cold turkey and just get them to teach me.
It's soon clear the undercover agent not only knows what he's doing, but how to look after himself.
I don't feel concerned because I'm not that stupid to get caught.
Your sense of how dangerous it is?
I believe it's going to be very dangerous because you just don't know. For people to believe to hurt someone because of the colour of their skin, obviously they're going to class me as a dog.
You mean an informer, someone that's betrayed?
Yeah, someone that's betrayed their beliefs. And I just don't know how they'd act, but I don't think it'd be nice.
When we fight for a free white Australia, we are joining our brothers in a struggle for a free white world. A global white revolution is the only solution.
After much consultation with legal and security experts, we decide our target will be the white nationalist group known as the National Socialist Network, or NSN. In public online posts, these neo-Nazis hide behind balaclavas and rant about their vision of a white Australia, brought on by a race war or societal collapse. But strangely, the NSN first came to our notice from a much different direction. It was the sound of waltzing Matilda echoing from a cave that caught hiker Nathan Hart's attention. But the noise then drew him to a disturbing scene. Dozens of young men wearing black clothes with matching logos. The group was on edge, wary of being photographed or filmed.
I was looking into the cave and I saw a really young guy, I can picture him quite clearly, just sitting in the call room there, do a Nazi salute. And then as I was going up the stairs, I heard them yelling, white power and power to the white man.
Nathan wasn't the only surprised bushwalker that day. Others reported terrifying encounters to both local police and counter-terror intelligence officials.
A lot of the people here that day were, migrants or first-generation Australians, non-white people, and I was afraid for them. I was afraid for what comments might come their way and how they might be made to feel unsafe.
Curiously, a day after their camp had been uncovered, the leader of the NSN, Tom Sewell, posted a video dismissing claims it was a neo-Nazi training and recruitment drive. As the only public face of the group online, he relishes the spotlight.
A bunch of white guys out in the bush, spending time under the stars.
Unfortunately for Tom Sewell and his mob, it was too late. The secret of the National Socialist Network was out. Having identified the group, the undercover had his opportunity to make a move. He contacted the group's leader, Sewell, via an encrypted app. And after weeks spent messaging back and forth, he was told to go to Melbourne and await a vetting call. The infiltration had begun.
To finally talk to you, mate. Taken so long, me and Tom have just been so busy over the last few days.
The infiltrator's story is simple. He's a foul-mouthed racist who wants to be involved in the neo-Nazi movement. It might be basic, but it's exactly what they want to hear.
So you describe yourself first and foremost as a racist.
The man doing the vetting asks a series of loaded questions.
So what are your views on the Jews? What are your views on homosexuals?
And after 20 minutes of distasteful conversation, seems to have made up his mind about the potential new recruit.
You sound like you'd be well suited to our organisation. You don't have any views that turn us off. I'll get Tom to message you on Telegram and he'll organise a time and place to meet up with you. All right, sounds good. Good to talk to you, mate.
The man vetting the undercover has an online alias, Race War Pete. By matching previous online posts, including a leaked US database of neo-Nazis, we confirm this is Jacob Hussant, an aspiring leader of the National Socialist Network, responsible for their online propaganda. Along with Sewell, identifying Hussant is an early breakthrough in our aim to unmask Australia's neo-Nazis. But the next stage will be a completely different game.
If you can make it to the headquarters and get invited in, just get to know as many of the guys there as possible.
The level of danger is about to be turned up as the undercover agent tries to meet his targets face to face for the first time.
If you can film their faces and ask them for, say, their mobile numbers or their businesses or where they work, we can start to piece together who these guys are.
In the quiet suburb of Rowville, on the fringes of Melbourne, the National Socialist Network has set up its base. In a sick acknowledgement of their love of hate, the members proudly call it Racism HQ.
Step through the last one. Step through a little bit.
They think they're safe here from prying eyes. But what these neo-Nazis don't know is they've been infiltrated by an undercover operative.
Because if you know nothing, you should at least know how to show.
Tom Sewell is the leader of the NSN. He's an Australian Army dropout, turned far-right extremist. And today, he's putting his men through their twice-weekly fight training drills.
Find a knee and you're going to knock it, but I'm not doing that.
This is the undercover's first face-to-face introduction to the group. But he isn't the only new recruit. This is Brendan. He says he works in waste management and boasts he was fired from his last job for, you guessed it, being a racist.
We're subcontractors for away now.
But obviously unaware he's being secretly filmed, he says here he can say what he really thinks without fear of recrimination.
Because this fucking computer's just constantly monitoring what everyone's fucking saying, and if there's anything in there fucking pro-white or white nationalist, the fucking, your account's just fucking stopped straight away. You can't fucking type it up and do it.
New to the hate group, Brendan does have some anxiety about the potential for the NSN's propaganda to provoke police attention.
I didn't realise, man, these guys were getting so much heat from the cops, honestly. For us. Well, we didn't. It was just that. It was only since I started too. It's only from.
This man, who says his name is Lewis and is a long-term member of the group, is quick to reassure Brendan he has nothing to worry about.
Yeah, we get like a lot of user attention. They wouldn't say it's like a shit ton of police attention.
The first stage of the undercover operation is going well. But there's still plenty of work to do. We need the insider to identify core members and their covert activities. And that means breaking their code of secrecy.
So, are they still persisting with using fake names?
Yes, everyone's got to have a fake name so they don't get tracked down.
What we need, ideally, is their real names, first name and last name.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'll keep trying at that.
And he does. The insider attends more training events. It's not pleasant, but he works hard trying to get along with the group. A few weeks later, Tom Sewell sends an encrypted message inviting him to an NSN meeting.
Activity, compulsory April monthly meeting. Time, Saturday, 1800, 10th of April 21. I'm booking a function room. The meeting will be compulsory and I will be doing a speech.
Receiving the invitation is a significant breakthrough in our investigation, and after a detailed safety assessment, it's agreed the Undercover will attend. The venue is the Manningham Club in suburban Melbourne, where the elderly regulars are unaware of this neo-Nazi invasion. One of the first to arrive is an NSN member, also called Brendan. He's eager to share his anti-Semitic bile with anyone who'll listen.
Well, all you gotta understand is that fucking Jews are fucking us over and they're a fucking disease and we're gonna get rid of them, mate. They're a parasite. There's two options. One, sterilise them, and the other one's not so kind. So, I think that's what they fucking deserve. They all need to be rounded up and put in one place and they can converge and kill each other, mate.
It's hardcore hatred. Brendan believes a race war is inevitable, and white supremacist groups like the National Socialist Network need to prepare to fight.
Something's going to change. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, but it's coming to. So not a matter of if, it's when.
Dozens of men have now turned up for the meeting, but when the leader, Tom Sewell, finally arrives, there's a distinct change of mood. He's angry there's been talk some of the men want to leave the organisation because they're worried it could be about to be raided by counter-terror police.
There are people that are trying to flee like rats on a ship because there's a little bit of persecution. And we have to remain strong. Now, I know everyone is worried, well, is there going to be cops knocking down the door at 5 a.m. pointing guns at me and my family at 5 o'clock in the morning? I don't have the answer to you. I don't. But what I do know is if they smell fear, it's more likely to happen. If they smell fear, if they think it could work. Because what is their goal but to stop us and shut us down?
Having reassured his wavering troops, it's down to other membership business. Expelling one man on suspicion of being gay.
Yeah, homosexual. Or a Jew. Or both.
And another for foolishly bringing illegal ammunition into the group's headquarters, a misdemeanour Tom Sewell blames himself for.
There are people that slip in the cracks and become members because of my failings, and I take full responsibility for that, and I'll make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
Bizarrely, Sewell goes on to tell the meeting he wants to attract more family men to the NSN, but knows he'll have a hard job convincing their wives the group is harmless.
One of the biggest taxes on individual members is that, the wife is at home going, this is risky, you're putting everything at risk, you're jeopardising our future, you're jeopardising the career, the job, the house, the kid. Basically everyone's partner thinks that their husband comes to a Nazi meeting where we basically just straight up just preach race war, which we do. But we're fucking normal people, most of us, right?
The meeting ends with a tune, a racist anthem called the White Australia Song. The Undercover is slowly gaining the trust of the men in the room. He arranges to meet them all again a few days later at their headquarters.
Okay, I'll put a jacket on. I'll take it, mate.
It's a special night at the headquarters of Australia's largest neo-Nazi group, the National Socialist Network, and members are getting ready for a celebration.
I've got a marker, it's not sunny.
The dress code is black clothes and balaclavas.
Taking me back to the old fucking armed robbery days.
As the group's leader, Tom Sewell, begins the tributes honouring the date of birth of one of the most reviled men in modern history.
So today we're celebrating Adolf Hitler's birthday, and I was going to read out some quotes from Mein Kampf, or just from his life, and I decided that there was really no point, because every time I tried to find a quote, I found another one that I want to read out, and then another, and I decided we'd be sitting here reading Mein Kampf all the way through.
At the end of the rambling speech, the men cover their faces and pose for a photo. Sewell is in the centre, holding a portrait of Hitler.
However. Well, no.
The image is uploaded to their encrypted online channel that has more than 12,000 subscribers. By now, the undercover operative has spent weeks covertly filming inside the NSN, trying to identify its members. One of the men he meets is Daniel, who says he's been with the group for 2 years.
And as Tom said, like we're not all expected to be activists, you know, like we're not expecting everyone to come in and start to wave the flag. As long as you know, we all have a sort of a single beating heart, we all understand about natural order and blood and honour, then that's all we need.
Daniel reveals that everyone is expected to pay Leader Sewell a monthly membership fee. The group apparently is saving to buy a property in rural Victoria, where they can conduct their training more discreetly.
I pay 100. You're more than welcome to pay whatever you want.
Daniel is happy to support the neo-Nazi cause and says he can easily afford it because he earns more than $100,000 a year. He then lets slip he's a security manager at Melbourne's Crown Casino.
Obviously it's a diverse workplace, but the funny thing is all the upper management are all white. So, you know, I got no issue bossing around the fucking niggers. And I just get them to do the shit jobs, to be honest with you.
A short time later, Tom Sewell discloses the group is also saving money to pay the bail for a teenage New South Wales neo-Nazi terror suspect who's been arrested accused of plotting a mass casualty attack.
So I've been trying to get in contact with the mum to say we'll put up bail. Because they've been locked up since like January or December. 23 hours. He's fucking 18, bro. They're putting prison ward. They're fucking dogs.
Sewell's story checks out. We've confirmed the identity of the terror suspect, but for legal reasons we can't name him. The 18-year-old, though, is an affiliate of the NSN. Because he shares the same extremist views, Sewell feels obligated to support him, no matter what.
And I'm putting my dumb neck on the line defending his honour, saying that I'll stand by the kid. He's a good kid. I don't fucking know the kid from a bar of soap, but what I do know is he's one of our boys. No matter how much of a dumb he is. And he's probably going to jail for a long time. We spread and share the risk. That's how it works. And the more of us there are, and the stronger we are, the less risk we individually face.
This meeting produces more vital information for our investigation. The insider swaps mobile telephone numbers with several members and is given instructions on how to use the encrypted app Element. A few days later, he receives a message from a senior NSN member called Ty.
Meeting up with Stephen Vence, then off to check out some properties. Going to be a good day.
Ty has been given the job of inspecting property for the group in regional Victoria. It's all part of their leader's plan to build a secure and safe white-only base.
And that is our first goal, to create our white communities to start with. And when we have the power, when we have the ability, we clean out our whole country.
The undercover arranges to meet the men at the Peppermill Hotel in Shepparton, where he's greeted by Ty, who's brought along his young family and two other neo-Nazis, Vinny and Steve. An excited Steve says they've already found one property with potential to be turned into a rural headquarters.
Well, I've got a place in just out of Benalla. Not bad. 60 acres, nice school, nice view from the top of the hill. House needed work, but it was all right. It might be a little bit expensive.
Over a few beers, the talk turns ugly. These men believe the system and police are against the white man, and a rural base is important for the group's protection from the enemy.
I used to live in Noble Park, and if you walk around there, it's just like, some of this reminds me of Mozambique, you know? Like, it's just, we got robbed in Noble Park, by blacks, of course.
Steve's mate Vinny also blames crime on blacks after his car was burgled.
Well, mate, if I caught them, I probably would have killed them. Like, I would have taken all that anger out on whoever's done it, and then I would have got locked up for it.
This is why we have to get him away from these spots. Otherwise, he's going to jail or something.
Yeah.
Vinny boasts about a disturbing attack on black men in his suburb.
And I chased them with an axe one night. I tried to run them over, but they sort of scattered. That's right, mate. I nearly went to jail for that. Like, the cop was like, it's probably a good thing you didn't end up hitting any of them with the axe, because you would have killed them and we'd have to arrest you. So if I hit them with an axe, I would have kept driving. I wouldn't have called you guys.
Knowing they're in like-minded company, they're happy to sprout their racist ideology and brag about violence. It's in stark contrast to what their leader promotes in public online propaganda.
But we're not a terrorist organisation. We don't advocate for violence. We might advocate for civil disobedience, but we don't advocate for that.
For the white population.
I mean, sorry, you can't film in the building, bro.
But in March this year, Tom Sewell staged a stunt that did turn violent at the Channel 9 office in Melbourne. One of his own henchmen was filming as a black security guard was knocked to the ground, footage we've chosen not to show. Sewell was charged with assault but denies the accusation. However, if that wasn't bad enough, the group then shared the video on their encrypted channel to use as a source of inspiration. This man, a long-term member called Michael, took the idea a step further, proposing to the undercover operative that the group lure a black man to be violently bashed on camera, and then use the vision for NSN marketing.
It's almost worth setting that up, you know, just get some on that side to fucking go in the wrong spot and then just fucking come out, you know, and just say, oh, they were attacking this guy. I mean, the publicity would be through the roof.
Day by day, the men are dropping their guard around the undercover. The next step is finding out who they really are. It's well past midnight and masked neo-Nazis are defacing a Melbourne wall with Adolf Hitler-inspired graffiti. The men are so confident they'll never be held accountable for this hate crime, they pose for a photo and post it online. Little do they know, though, their balaclavas are about to be ripped off. Because a few hours later, at the National Socialist Network's headquarters, their bragging is being secretly recorded. The first to fess up is leader Tom Sewell.
We were doing graffiti till fucking 5 o'clock. You went there doing graffiti too? I was there with them, yeah.
Jacob Hassant, Sewell's 2IC, admits he too helped paint the Hitler banner.
Right next to the station. Brunswick Station.
Now, while some of these men may not fit the stereotype of skinhead neo-Nazi thugs, the Undercover's covert video and audio puts beyond doubt their hateful views. But to figure out how they're luring members, we track down the former leader of one of the UK's most violent neo-Nazi groups. Who is the ideal recruit for a group like the National Socialist Network?
You want somebody who can look like your next door neighbour, and that can be anything from, you know, a young individual who's active online through to a businessman who can employ staff, and if they've got a business of their own, then that money then can be invested into the movement.
For more than 20 years, Nigel Farage was a feared figure in the white supremacy movement in England and co-founded the notorious terror group Combat 18.
Sadly, I was quite prepared to sort of give my life for the cause that I believed in. You know, during the time of being involved in the far right, my mother had died of cancer, my dad had got killed in a car crash, no brothers, no sisters. You know, the far right were everything to me. So if they would have asked me to do anything, I'd be quite willing to do that without any sort of qualm at all.
Would you have been prepared to kill for the group if asked?
At the time, if I'm honest, yeah. I was in that much pain because of losing my mum and dad. I was quite happy to sort of, you know, release that anger any way I could. And if people were asking me to do things, you know, at the time I was quite happy to do that.
In a remarkable turnaround, Bromwich now runs Exit UK, a non-profit organisation that helps neo-Nazis escape the movement and start fresh lives. He warns that the National Socialist Network in Australia is building a dangerous reputation.
We've been watching the organisation sort of network with other groups using online forums from people we've supported in this country. They've spoken about the growing Australian sort of far right and how they are networking with each other and sort of passing good practice really for each organisation.
Back in Australia, information collected by the Undercover reinforces Nigel Farrage's fear, especially the sophisticated recruitment tactics used by the NSN to target teenagers and former prison inmates. At the group's headquarters, the operative films neo-Nazi rookies as young as 17. Teens leaving youth prison, like Harry, are also prime targets.
I've done Burgs. That was sort of my childish shit, you know. And armed robs, like dealers, kidnappings and that.
At a barbecue get-together, the Undercover covertly films a neo-Nazi called Danny. Tom Sewell boasts Danny liaises with neo-Nazis in prison, including a ruthless skinhead faction at the Barwon Maximum Security Jail in country Victoria.
Yeah, they called Danny recently, and I'm the most loved and hated man in Barwon prison. Yeah.
In the event, Sewell or another member gets locked up. Danny's neo-Nazis are apparently armed with homemade knives known as shanks to protect them.
Danny said, "Don't stress, we've got Excalibur." They've got a shank apparently like this long.
Connections to outlaw bikie gangs are also prized by the group. In this vision, Danny gives the secret neo-Nazi handshake to Ari, an apparently principled bikie.
I do like motorcycle clubs with more of an ideology rather than just pain and eat.
At a different meeting, the Undercover films a neo-Nazi who is a member of the Finks outlaw motorcycle gang. With so many dubious connections behind the scenes, the group regularly tells its members to delete any incriminating material from their phones and laptops in case they're raided by counter-terror police.
I want everyone in Melbourne to square their shit away, get rid of anything that would not reflect well on our organisation should the police find it.
But sometimes even the leaders themselves are sloppy. In this secretly recorded audio from the backyard of the group's headquarters, Sewell admits that before a previous police raid, he forgot to destroy a key photo.
Look, I know the police took off me, but the first photo on the camera roll was the St. Tarrant man.
Saved on Sewell's camera was a meme celebrating mass murderer Brenton Tarrant as a saint.
Yeah, well, I deleted 5,000 or 6,000 before they raided. I didn't get through all the computer. I burned 3 phones, a laptop. I was going through my PC. I managed to get through about 6,000 memes. But yeah, they took a lot.
This is the first time Sewell has mentioned Brenton Tarrant, the Christchurch mass murderer, in the Undercover's presence. And it's telling because even though he tried to recruit him in 2017, Sewell had always publicly distanced himself from Tarrant and his crimes. But now, in front of his neo-Nazi mates, he reveals he's actually opposed to Tarrant's jailing and that his group should fight to free him.
Yeah, he'll be in there until we win the revolution. He doesn't come out unless we win. He's putting us on a timeline.
Why do some members of this group invoke Brenton Tarrant as a saint?
Quite often they look for people who they can sort of focus and say, well, actually, you know, we're not going to get power through, you know, a political means. You know, Tarrant basically went out there and committed the awful acts that he did, and individuals and groups will look up to that and say, well, actually, that's the way forward. That's the only way that we are going to be able to achieve power. And when you look at the reality of that, obviously that's crazy. But, you know, there are individuals and groups who will follow that route, and we've got to try and stop them as quick as possible.
It was hikers in the Grampians National Park who first alerted us to the new face of white supremacy in Australia. 7 months ago, these men hid behind hate symbols on anonymous online accounts. But after our infiltration of the National Socialist Network, it's no longer possible for them to hide. The threat they pose is clear for everyone to see. But what's even more concerning, the Director General of ASIO, Mike Burgess, warns the number of Australian neo-Nazis like those in the NSN is growing. Where is the threat most likely to come from in respect of a neo-Nazi group? The group as a collective, or are we talking a lone wolf?
The most likely terrorist attack will be the actions of a lone actor. This group, National Socialist Network, which is one which is known in public, it's not ISIL, it's a very different group. Nonetheless, their views and where it goes to promoting acts of violence is of grave concern, and it does get the full attention of ourselves, the federal police, and our state and territory law enforcement colleagues.
What percentage of your critical caseload, your highest priority cases, are dedicated to groups like neo-Nazi cells and other like-minded groups?
So right now that cohort is 50% of our onshore priority counter-terrorism caseload.
How many critical cases of yours are going dark where you have no visibility over a potential terror suspect because they're hiding behind encryption?
So a year ago I said 90% of our priority caseload was impacted by encryption. It's actually now 97, and that number's growing every day.
97% of critical cases, you can't get a full picture?
We can't read their communications if they're using those apps.
Mike Burgess won't name the tech companies providing a safe haven for violent groups like the neo-Nazis. But it's not only encrypted apps making the job harder for our security agencies. With more people stuck at home because of COVID lockdowns, many are being drawn to the online forums where anti-government conspiracies and racist propaganda thrive.
This is not just an Australian thing. There's a growing international trend of a rise in the visibility of these ideologies, and there's no doubt the impacts of COVID reinforces their beliefs that there's a collapse of society, there will be a race war. All of that just feeds it. And on top of that, the online environment, it's something that actually is a force multiplier. People can find each other in these dark corners of the internet. They can talk freely, they can encourage each other, and that's of real concern as well.
What do you say to Australians who shrug their shoulders and say, well, neo-Nazis getting together, what's the big deal?
Well, if you look at the history of what neo-Nazis stand for, that's an extremely big deal. Of course, yes, I recognise that you can look at this and say people are entitled to their views, and as long as they don't go to violence, that's fine in our country, and that should continue to be that way. But it is a big deal if you truly understand their ideology and what they believe, and actually what they're inspired by of past events in history, and how they would like to see the world corrected in their views, and what they're prepared to do, or some of them are prepared to do it to make that happen. That is of grave concern to us, and should be of grave concern to all Australians.
After being inside the NSN for almost 3 months, it's obvious no one suspects the undercover man. In early May, he receives another invitation from Tom Sewell, this time for a camp in the bush.
Activity, Cathedral Ranges overnight camping trip. Time, 12 p.m, Saturday, 8th of May 2021 to 12 p.m, 9th of May 2021. Location, Cathedral Ranges State Park, Little River Road, Taggart 3714. Meeting place, 12 p.m, Sugarloaf Saddle.
When they arrive, Sewell orders the undercover to set up, while others head off on a hike. Ty, Michael and Brendan stay behind to help out. Michael has brought along a Nazi flag and hangs it from the tree. He poses for a photo beside his dog. It's not long though before the group start to think they're being watched.
I might have to drive down the road, see if they're there or something.
Brendan spots a man filming them from a passing car.
I wasn't sus before I saw that. But you've been paranoid. Nah. Not coming, we're just camping.
We're just camping. Sorry, it's our country.
It was at this point in the camp, here in the Cathedral Range State Park, that something unexpected happened. There was an incident. The details are sketchy, but it was so serious that Tom Sewell abandoned camp and raced back to the group's headquarters in Melbourne. The next morning, the undercover arrives for an urgent meeting. The men are guarded about what happened the previous day in the state park, but it seems there was a violent altercation with other hikers, and the police are now involved.
That's basically what happened. I won't talk about it now, but yeah.
Second in charge of the NSN, Jacob Hersant, is filmed ordering members not to cooperate with the officers.
Have you talked to him basically? Just tell him to no comment.
Hey boys, it's been 72 hours since the incident at Cathedral State Park. Obviously nobody has been raided and the stress levels have come down, but this is not an excuse to become sloppy. Do not talk to the police. Exercise severe caution over the next month. Heil Hitler, nothing will stop us.
But Hersant's calm is misplaced, and counter-terror police raid the group's headquarters.
Thomas Sewell, 4:59 a.m, getting raided.
I need you to come out the front door, one at a time, with nothing in your hand.
HQ was no-knock raided this morning. The cops took Tom and Jacob and said they would be back to everyone else at HQ. If your shit isn't squared away yet, square it now. Be ready for a raid. Don't be caught lacking.
That afternoon, Tom Sewell was arrested, charged over the Cathedral Range altercation. Sewell, who was remanded into custody, denies the allegations, which are yet to be tested in a court. Jacob Hersant is left to lead the fractured group. He admits they haven't heard from some members since the raid.
The numbers have been a little less, but you got to give people time to digest everything that's happened and realise that the skies have fallen down.
With the group in disarray, we concentrate on putting names to faces. Identifying the neo-Nazis who have signed up to the NSN's race war. The Undercover has captured hours and hours of footage and supplied some first names. We talk to multiple confidential sources, including government and counter-terror contacts, and slowly find the connections we need.
Just looking at the images that the Undercover has filmed, is a guy who calls himself Danny. He's in all the leadership meetings, so he's a core member, he's a senior member.
There's some pretty distinctive tattoos, so we should be able to match that.
Now we can reveal for the first time some of the secret members of this neo-Nazi group. The man with deep criminal connections, including to international neo-Nazi terror group Combat 18, is Danny Newman, and his neo-Nazi comrade is Ari Fink, who claims affiliation with bikie gangs and to work for a federal government agency. The NSN's rural property scout is Steve Zumas, seen here proudly posing with a gun. We've identified several team members who we won't name. But older core members include a Crown Resorts security manager, Daniel Todisco, Michael Edwards, who's recruiting neo-Nazis in the bush, and Tyrell Cameron, an IT consultant for a federal government body. And member of outlaw motorcycle gang The Finks is Ulf Linfors Beswick. After months embedded inside the group, I once again meet up with the undercover operative. I want to discuss the plan to get him safely out of the NSN. But he surprises me by proposing another operation to target a new neo-Nazi leader.
He would be very, very dangerous. He's mainly into teaching how to fight. I believe he can handle himself, but he teaches how to kill, fight. You go in for the kill and that's it.
With Tom Sewell on remand, a fierce power struggle has broken out in the NSN and revealed a new and potentially more dangerous contender pushing to become leader. The undercover bravely agrees to meet him and volunteers to stay in the group for one more week.
I believe he's too rough for the guys that he's teaching. They're only young lads, which shouldn't even be there.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinfort. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au, as well as the 9Now app.